I used to work the night shift at a small gas station on the edge of town. Most nights were quiet, slow enough that the hours blended together. But one night, just before closing, a customer walked in who completely changed the way I think about working alone after midnight. The strange part wasn't that he came in late. The strange part was that he never left. At the time I was 23, living in a tiny apartment and trying to save enough money to move somewhere better. The gas station job wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. My shift ran from 10 at night until 6 in the morning. Most people imagine night shifts as chaotic or dangerous. Honestly, most nights were just boring. A few truckers would stop for coffee, someone might grab snacks during a long drive, and occasionally a tired college student would wander in for energy drinks. But after about 2 in the morning, everything slowed down. The gas station sat on the side of a 2-lane highway just outside town. There were no houses nearby, just long stretches of forest on either side of the road. During the day it looked normal enough. At night, though, the place felt isolated. After midnight the world went quiet. Inside the store, the only sounds were the steady hum of the refrigerator units and the faint buzzing of the overhead fluorescent lights. Every now and then headlights would sweep across the windows as a car passed by outside, but most of the time it felt like the entire world had gone to sleep. That particular night had been completely normal. Until about 2:40 in the morning. The automatic door slid open and a tall man walked in. At first I barely paid attention. Customers came and went all night. But something about the way he moved caught my eye. He was wearing a dark hoodie with the hood pulled low over his face. His hands were tucked into the front pocket, and he kept his head angled down like he didn't want anyone to see him. He didn't say anything when he walked in. That wasn't unusual either. Plenty of customers just wandered the aisles without speaking. But instead of grabbing something and heading to the counter, he just walked slowly through the store. Up one aisle, down another, looking at the shelves. Not picking anything up, just looking. At first I figured he was deciding what to buy. I went back to scrolling through my phone behind the counter. 10 minutes passed, then 15. Eventually I looked up again. He was still there, standing in the snack aisle, not moving, just staring at the shelves. Something about it made the back of my neck itch. After another 5 minutes, I finally spoke. "Hey man, you finding everything okay?" My voice echoed slightly through the empty store. The man didn't respond. He didn't even turn his head. For a second I thought maybe he hadn't heard me. So I tried again. "Need help with anything?" This time he slowly turned toward me and just looked. I couldn't see his face clearly because of the hood. The lights above him cast a shadow over his eyes. He didn't say a word. He just stood there at the end of the aisle, facing the counter, watching me. After a few seconds he turned away again and walked toward the back of the store. Back there was a short hallway that led to the employee storage room and the public restroom. I heard the bathroom door creak open. Then it closed. And that was it. I figured he'd finally gone to use the restroom and would leave after that. So I went back to my phone again. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Eventually I noticed something. I hadn't heard the door open again. At our gas station, the bathroom door made a loud metal squeak whenever someone opened it. There was no way you could miss it. But the store had stayed completely silent. I glanced toward the hallway. Still nothing. Another 5 minutes went by. At this point it had been almost 20 minutes since he went back there. That's when I started getting uneasy. People don't usually spend 20 minutes in a gas station bathroom. I leaned over the counter and called out, "Hey man, everything okay back there?" No answer. The hallway stayed dark and quiet. Now I was starting to worry something might actually be wrong. Maybe he'd passed out. Or maybe he was sick. Either way, it was technically part of my job to check. So I stepped out from behind the counter and walked slowly toward the hallway. The store suddenly felt a lot quieter than it had a few minutes earlier. The refrigerator humming sounded louder. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. As I reached the hallway, I noticed something strange. The bathroom door was already open. Just slightly, like someone had left it that way. I knocked gently against it. "Hey, you okay?" No response. I pushed the door open the rest of the way. The bathroom was empty. No one inside. For a moment I just stood there, confused. He had definitely walked back here. I had heard the door close. But now the room was empty. I turned around slowly, and that's when I heard the front entrance door slide open. The automatic doors made a distinct mechanical sound whenever they activated. My stomach dropped, because I knew something immediately. The only person in the store besides me was supposed to be in this hallway, but someone had just entered the front of the store. Bert left. I walked slowly back toward the counter. The store lights suddenly felt harsher than before. I looked toward the front entrance. The door was closed again. No one outside. No car in the parking lot. That didn't make any sense. Confused, I stepped behind the counter and glanced up at the security monitor mounted above the register. The screen showed multiple camera feeds. The parking lot, the aisles, the counter, and the hallway. I looked at the hallway camera first. It showed exactly what I expected. An empty hallway. Then I looked at the camera facing the store floor. Still empty. Then my eyes moved to the camera above the register, and my heart nearly stopped. The man was standing behind the counter, right where I had been standing earlier. His hood was still pulled low over his face, and he was staring directly at the hallway, watching the exact spot where I was standing. I spun around instantly. The space behind the counter was empty. No one there. I looked back up at the monitor. Still there, standing perfectly still on the screen, watching. My chest tightened as I tried to make sense of what I was seeing. The camera was showing someone who wasn't actually in the store. Panic started creeping in. Without thinking, I backed into the hallway again and locked myself inside the bathroom. My hands were shaking as I pulled out my phone. I called my manager first. He didn't answer. Then I called the police. I sat there listening to my own breathing echo off the tile walls while I waited. Every little sound outside made my heart race. At one point I could swear I heard footsteps moving slowly across the store floor. But I couldn't be sure. After what felt like forever, I finally heard sirens approaching outside. When the police arrived, they searched the entire building. The man was gone. No sign of anyone else inside. I told them everything that happened, including what I saw on the security monitor. One of the officers asked to review the footage. We watched the recording together. The video clearly showed the man walking into the store. It showed him wandering the aisles, then walking into the bathroom hallway. But after that, he never came out. Not once. Not on any camera. The officer rewound the footage multiple times. There was no recording of him leaving the hallway. No recording of him walking behind the counter. Nothing. Just gone. I quit that job 2 days later. But every once in a while, when I drive down that highway late at night, I can't help glancing toward that gas station. And sometimes, I swear I see someone standing inside, right behind the counter, just watching the door, and waiting for it to open again. When I worked security at a warehouse, my only company during the night shift was the radio system we used to communicate. Except one night, someone started talking on it. Someone who wasn't supposed to be there. I worked at a massive shipping warehouse on the edge of an industrial district. The building was enormous. Long rows of metal shelving stretched through the warehouse floor like narrow streets. Each shelf was stacked with boxes 20 feet high. During the day, the place was loud and busy. At night, it felt like a giant empty maze. There were usually 3 of us on the overnight shift. Each guard had their own patrol route, and we checked in with each other over 2-way radios every hour. That night started out normal. Around 3 in the morning, I was walking through one of the storage aisles when my radio crackled suddenly. Static filled the speaker. Then a voice whispered softly, "Hello." I stopped walking. "Hey," I replied. "Who's this?" No answer. Just static again. I assumed it was one of the other guards messing with the radio. A few minutes later, the radio crackled again. This time the voice said my name. Slowly, quietly. I immediately contacted the other guards. Neither of them had used the radio. That's when I started feeling uneasy. About 10 minutes later, as I walked down a dark aisle near the back of the warehouse, the radio whispered again. 2 words. "Behind you." I turned around instantly. The aisle behind me was empty. But then I heard something. Footsteps. Running through the shelves somewhere nearby. I checked the security cameras later that night. They showed something disturbing. Every time the voice spoke through the radio, the cameras showed me standing alone. No one else anywhere in the warehouse. To this day, none of us know who was speaking on that radio. But new guards still report hearing whispers sometimes during the night shift. Always the same voice. Always the same message. Hello. I also once worked the overnight desk at a small hospital. And one night, a patient in room 214 kept calling the nurse station. Even though the room was empty. The call system lit up around 1:30 in the morning. Room 214. I notified the nurse on duty. She checked the room. Empty. The patient had been discharged earlier that evening. 10 minutes later the call light came on again. Room 214. Again the nurse checked. Still empty. But the calls kept happening. Over and over. Finally we pulled up the hallway camera. And watched. The door to room 214 slowly opened on its own. No one there. Just the door moving. Maintenance inspected the entire call system the next day. Nothing wrong with it. Everything worked perfectly. A week later I learned something disturbing. Years earlier, a patient had died in room 214. And every few months, the call light still turns on. Usually sometime after midnight. As if someone inside the room is still trying to call for help. Even though no one is there.